Hey everybody, we're back. This is The Gadget. We're coming at you live from the Steve Jobs Theater here in Cupertino, California. It's beautiful space. Quite a lovely ceiling. You actually haven't seen this before. We're going to give people a couple minutes to kind of jump in and see what it was. But after much demand, we're taking a look at this. The iPhone XR. Obviously there were a bunch of colors. We're going to sneak over here real quick. Those are the other finishes that are happening now. There's a beautiful yellow, which I'm really fond of. There's the red and the blue. But we're not limiting those right now, because what I have in my hand is this. This is the color you've all been waiting for. Ooh, that coral. So this is very much a successor. Do you remember that pink iPhone 5C, the one that sort of looked like an eraser or a piece of gum? That's basically where we are with the iPhone XR, which many of you have asked us to do a live hands-on with. So here we are to oblige. Again, quick run through of the iPhone XR. This is basically a very premium phone. I mean, let's be real. This does have the brand new A12 chipset, the A12 Bionic chipset inside, but with a few key differences. If we take a look, this display maybe doesn't pop quite as much as what we saw on the iPhone XS and XS Max. That's because this is an LCD display, or rather, what Apple calls its Retina liquid display, or liquid Retina display. LCD screens, as I'm sure you all know, historically haven't been the best in terms of quality. But hey, Apple had to keep costs down somehow. And if we actually throw in a video on here, there's a copy of Ready Player One, which you might have seen a bit before. This is actually not bad. Apple has been very fond of calling this the most advanced LCD display in a smartphone ever. And while I can't really verify that right now, especially because I haven't been able to take this thing apart yet, I'm inclined to believe them because this is probably one of the nicest devices I've ever seen. I also should point out, thank you, Kardani, this is incredible. What's really impressive about this device is it takes everything about what we've seen in the iPhone XS and XS Max, which were down at the end of the table, squeezes it into a body that is much more affordable. So if you like the idea of using a fully premium modern smartphone, but don't really want to drop $1,000 or $1,100 on a device like you would have to with the iPhone XS and XS Max, this might be the way to go. This is a $750 device. Let us know about the audio, by the way. We switched networks here. Hopefully that causes some of the dropouts that we've experienced to hopefully disappear, but we'll let you know about that. This is running iOS 12, which we have seen a bit in the past. I've been using the beta on mine. It does run remarkably well. Again, thank you for the sound. This is very good feedback. We might actually redo the other one because that was a little rough. But we are looking at iOS 12 running on the XR. A couple of gestures are really valuable. Just for example, the idea of being able to swipe up on an app card to dismiss rather than holding down to whatever. We've got a couple questions. I want to dig into these. Someone asked about haptic touch, which is very interesting. So for those just joining us, the iPhone XR, I probably call it a bunch of different things by now. The iPhone XR doesn't have a 3D touch display. It doesn't actually have a pressure-sensitive screen, but it does simulate a lot of what 3D touch does. So if we jump in, here is the control panel down at the bottom. If you hold down the button to enable the camera or to launch the camera, there is a nice haptic click. So it does actually work the way you would expect 3D touch to, just without the expensive components that would have made this phone much more expensive. As a few people have pointed out, the bezels are quite quick. We're going to see if we can switch around and get a couple colors here, because the coral, while nice, definitely ain't going to be for everybody. Here's a quick look at that white. It looks very much like the classic white /2 for iPhone 8, but we've got our hands on with the coral now. A couple things you want to take a quick look at here are some of the camera features. Now, obviously, the iPhone XR does have that single camera around the back. It's a 12 megapixel sensor that does seem to produce pretty impressive photos, at least from what we've seen so far. But I've been pointing at somebody, that's not great. What's really been impressive so far is the ability for the A12 Bionic inside this phone to pull off some really impressive tricks. So we kind of saw this with the XS Max. But some of these photos, and this one is, I believe, one that was taken directly on the XR with no retouching. This is straight off the device. Really great colors, really nice dynamic range. It's probably not quite as good as what you'd see on the 10S and 10S Max, but guys, this is a phone that costs $250 less. This is a pretty big deal. Right off, we've got a couple people asking about the fit and finish of the device. It feels very premium iPhone still, but it does have the touches that you might expect from less expensive iPhones. So this trim around here, that's aluminum. That's the Aerospace 7000 series aluminum, which we've seen in other Apple devices before and does feel still quite nice. Around back, the sort of coral finish has sort of the glass covering it, so it kind of feels like the love child of the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and the iPhone 10 from last year. There's a lot of things going on in the comments here, so if you have questions, please keep asking them. But yeah, check out these bezels. So this is, again, a 6.1-inch liquid Retina display. Apple says it's the most advanced LCD that's ever been put in a smartphone, not even an Apple smartphone, in any smartphone period, which there's really no way for us to verify right now, but check out those bezels though. They're not nothing. They're a little bit trimmer on the pricier devices, but that was sort of to be expected because, again, this is a device that costs $750 to start. We're getting a few questions here. Is the display worth the price? I think so, but I think that's largely a question of priorities. You could easily go out and get a properly flagship. Sure, we're getting a properly flagship Android phone for a few $100s less than this and something like the OnePlus 6. So for those people, probably not necessary. If you haven't pledged allegiance to a smartphone platform yet, you've got some options. But for people who have had iPhones in the past who want a properly modern iPhone experience but don't really want to spend $1,000, this could be the way to go. Apple did something very similar with its iPad 2017 and 2018. They were inexpensive things that gave you the horsepower needed to run iOS 12 really, really well, but in a way that sort of made it more accessible to people who might not have splurged on a device otherwise. So we're going to walk around and take a closer look at a few more things. This has been our quick hands-on of the 10R. Stay tuned for more from Engadget. Sorry, I just really